Our guest today is the Chief Executive Officer of Northern Illinois University. He was born in Hood River, Oregon, and is the son of two teachers. Our guest today earned bachelor's degrees and master's degrees in business industrial relations from Colorado State University. He earned his PhD in business, that is, organizational behavior and theory, from the University of Nebraska. Our guest today and his wife, Dana Stover, are the proud parents of two beautiful daughters, Hannah and Robin. Ladies and gentlemen, Doug Baker. Doug? All right. Have fun up here.
I will. Thank you. Well, thanks to the City Club and thanks to Jay and Paul for having me. It's a real honor to be here. I wanted to say hello to a number of the trustees that are here from NIU. So if I could have them stand up when I call their names, and we'll applaud at the end. So John Butler, our chair. Mark Strauss, our vice chair. Bob Bowie is a board member. Tony Iasco. And last but not least, Elliot Eccles, our student trustee. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your service to the institution and the state. So I thought today, since I'm new to the state, I might introduce myself and tell you a little story about myself, and then talk about higher education and talk about it within the context of where we are in the global economy and the state economy, and what the new role of higher education I think needs to be, how we better align higher education to meet the current standards in society. So I'll start with a little story and background, and I do that so you can get a feel for why I'm going to suggest some changes in the alignment of higher education. Before I get going, by the way, I see a lot of friendly Husky faces here. How many Huskies do we have here today? Wow, all right, go Huskies. That's fantastic. You know, I must say I've been really warmly welcomed into the state since I've been here. Faculty, staff, students, alumni, people across the state have just been wonderful, and I really appreciate that. It seems like a long time ago when I started July 1st, but that's really not too long ago when I came to the state. And I actually have a link back to Illinois, and I wanted to tell you a little story about that. My grandfather, my father's father, Gordon Baker, was born in Rochelle, which is 15 minutes from DeKalb. And he and his brother Ralph and the family moved to Rockford, and they went to high school in Rockford. And my grandfather went on to start the National Cash Register Company office here in Chicago. And Dana, my wife, and I were out walking along the lake this summer, and we saw a statue called Your Grandfather's Startup. And it was an old dolly and a bunch of pieces of equipment hanging on it. And it had the cityscape in the background, and I thought that was kind of an interesting link back, thinking about my granddad and what he did here 80 years ago. He and his brother were great athletes, and his brother Ralph actually went on to play a year of football at the University of Illinois, and then he went on to Northwestern. There he is. Isn't he a handsome devil? Ralph Moon Baker. And he's in the College Football Hall of Fame. And the story in the College Football Hall of Fame reads something like this. Ralph Moon Baker played for the formerly doormats of Northwestern in the Big Ten and led them to victory. And he played like a wildcat. And it goes on to indicate that that's where the name came from. Isn't that crazy? So interesting family history back to this area. By the way, do you know what the nickname of the Wildcats was before they were the Wildcats? According to the College Football Hall of Fame, it was the Fighting Methodists. Go Methodists. Is that true? Well, there you are. I don't know. Maybe the marketing people should look at this. Well, Northwestern's a great institution, and Ralph got a great education there. And, you know, he did play like a wildcat, and I'm going to play like a husky. By the way, we had a pretty good football team this year. Did anybody hear about that? Yeah. Wow. A magical year, 12 games, and I claimed I was the reason they won those first 12 games. But Jordan Lynch and Jimmy Ward and a few of the others probably had something to do with it. We're looking forward to the draft coming up. We'll see where Jordan goes in the draft, but a lot of people are saying Jimmy Ward, our defensive back, will go in the first round. So we'll see. He's an amazing athlete. They're both wonderful young men. By the way, universities across this country have graduation rates that need to be improved. Across this country, our universities graduate students at the rate of about mid-50s. A little over half the students that start in the university finish. That doesn't sound very good, does it? That links back to this idea about we need to better align with society's needs. I'm glad to say our football program graduates our students at a rate of 85%, one of the top in the country. So I was attracted to this university for a number of reasons, and being student-centered is one of them. In fact, the strategic plan that was developed shortly before I got here was that NIU wanted to be the most student-centered public research university in the Midwest. And I like that except the last word. I think we should leave Midwest off. I think we need to be the most student-centered public research university, period. And there are a number of ways to do that. And I'm going to talk about that and how we become more aligned. Another thing that attracted me was, in fact, the students. We've got incredible students from a diverse set of backgrounds, which makes it a really rich learning environment. We have outstanding faculty and staff who care about the students and who are creating wonderful learning environments for them. And to foreshadow just a little bit, I'm going to have two students come up at the end of my talk, and you'll remember them and probably not so much about me because they're such amazing young people. We have 220,000 alumni, most of whom live in the Chicagoland area. What an amazing resource for a university and its students to draw upon. So I was really attracted here, and my path was a little bit winding. It took me a while to find Grandpa Gordon's roots. I started in Oregon, Kansas City, went on to Ohio, and Mike Malone, our foundation director, told me a story recently that I went to high school in the school district adjoining where John Altgeld went to school, about 5 miles where he went to school. He was the governor that then went on to support universities, and my office building is named after him. So another small little world thing that was going on there. We were in the Johnny Appleseed Football Conference. Isn't that a great name for a football conference? Well, I did attend Ohio State before going to Colorado State and the University of Nebraska, where I met my wife, Dana. So had a great education there, and she's still giving me one. And I got a great education in a number of other ways. I got it in the classroom, and I got it out of the classroom. I learned a lot in the jobs I had. It really colored my perception for how students learn and how people learn. And these weren't high-paying white-collar jobs. These were things like I was a roughneck on an oil rig for a while. I ran a punch press in a factory. I was a mechanic in a factory for a while. I worked road construction. I worked in the forest for a while. And it turns out you learn an awful lot working with people like that. You learn how to relate to people, I hope. You learn about conflict. You learn about conflict resolution. You learn about showing up on time and doing your job and getting feedback if you don't. And I think that really does help you mature as an individual to have those kinds of opportunities. And so I tell you that story of my history to tell you that that's colored the way I see the world and the way I think people learn and how they get ready for life. And I'm really going to push that at the university as I talk about student career success and preparing our students for that. Now, as I set the context for higher education, what we need to do, I'll note that my distinguished colleagues that preceded me here, Bob Easter, Glenn Pichard, and Chancellor Cheryl Hyman, all talked about the state of higher education. And they made a pretty good case that investing in higher education is a good idea. The statistics indicate you put $1 in, you get about $10 out in public benefit through increased taxes, reduced crime, reduced health care, et cetera. And we see our competitors around the world investing heavily in higher education. And we're going to probably suffer another budget cut this year after a 15% budget reduction in our higher education budget over the last decade. So is that good public policy? No, it's not. And if you play that out for a long period of time, it reduces our competitiveness in this global economy, and it reduces the stability of our democracy. Bad ideas. So I'm going to lay out a few of these kinds of pieces and then talk about what do we do in that context. That's the game board right now. How do we play on it? Unfortunately, Illinois looks like it's facing another budget issue after a series of budget issues. Our university's lost about 16% of its state allocation in the last decade. That doesn't include inflation, so you can add that on top. We are like most states. We've got public education, and state legislators are kind of painted into a corner. There's so much in the budget that they can't cut. With Medicaid and all the other services that are dedicated, as well as interest expenses, et cetera, you get down to a relatively small set of things that you can cut, and higher education is one of them. And so when that happens, universities still have operating expenses, and the other revenue source is tuition. And so you've seen an escalation in tuition, and we're getting to a point where we can't do that anymore. We can't do that anymore and expect our students to come to university. So we've got to think, again, new models given that context. Let's see. It's another interesting context. For those of you who are watching your 401ks, the stock market's done pretty well since the great collapse of 2008. The S&P and the Dow have more than doubled. But our unemployment rate still remains relatively high across the country and in this state in particular. So it appears that the jobs aren't coming back. This may be the new normal that's starting to settle in. So how do we change the new normal? Is there a role for higher education in this, in our research and our teaching, to transform economies and create that middle class and create the economies that are going to be competitive in a global market? In fact, some have even questioned, with that decline in the middle class and the decline in employment, is college worth it? And again, my public university presidents and chancellors that have preceded me here have given compelling evidence that, in fact, a college education has dramatic impacts on your income and on society over time. So I think the answer is definitely yes. Go to school. Okay, so how do we pull these disparate pieces together? I'd argue we need to rethink the role of higher education and how we operate, and we need to put on the lenses of our students. If we're going to be the most student-centered public research university, let's be the most student-centered public research university. Let's keep the main thing, and that's it. Preparing students for their lives and their careers. And we need to do that not just in this segment called higher education. Think of higher education as a piece in a pipeline across the life. We have birth to K, and a lot of stuff that goes on in that period is going to shape the course of a life. How you get ready to go on to school is going to shape how you enter school and how successful you're going to be. And then K through 12, we all know we need reform there. We're not doing what we need to do. And universities have a role in reaching back through our colleges of education and other colleges and helping transform that system so it's more effective. Then students transition into higher education, and we need to align what we're doing with what we're having come into the institutions and then what's on the other side after graduation. So one example, while there are many students that graduate from universities across this country that struggle with getting jobs, there are also areas, and I see our engineering students over here at a table, who are going to have 5 job offers before they graduate. So there's a misalignment of where our students are going and with what employers need, both in the area and in the skill sets that students come. So let's put our lenses on, think about what students need to be successful, and transform our advising, our mentoring, our internship programs, what we're doing in the classroom, what we're doing in our research, so that it's facilitating that transition and building economy outside. At NIU, I've come into the institution and really tried to focus our energies on one keystone goal, and that is student career success. And when you add that word career in, you start thinking about graduation not as the end, but the beginning. Student success isn't getting the right number of classes and graduating in 4 years. It's going through a set of experiences, maybe some working as a roughneck on an oil rig, that get you experiences that are going to prepare you to go out in life. Okay, now I've had 3 pillars I've talked about that I think support the student career success notion. One is to build a sustainable budget and a sustainable budget model. We need to understand where our money is and how to allocate it to the highest priority. Keep the main thing the main thing. And support internships, support mentoring, support programs where we have high demand by students and high demand by employers. Second, ethically inspired leadership. All 3 words. If we're going to make these transformations and align the university with our stakeholders and to prepare students for careers and meaningful lives as citizens, then we need to have ethically inspired leadership to make the changes inside the institution. And we're working vigorously on that. We want to be the role model for ethically inspired leadership and the ability to transform the institution and meet the students' and society's needs. Third, thriving communities. For us to be effective as an organization, we need to have thriving communities inside the university where we can talk about difficult things and talk about changing. We can have civil conversations about moving the cheese. You know the old metaphor? Don't move my cheese. Well, we're going to have to move a lot of cheese. We're going to have forklifts. And then we're going to have a great time doing it, and we're going to be really excited by the transformation and how we're serving our students in our state. We also need to have our university in a thriving community. In fact, the university and our community in DeKalb and Sycamore are really hand in glove. And I want to thank Mayor Ray, who's here today, who's reached out to me and really tried to form a partnership. We're planning our communities together. We're planning the campus and the broader community together. We did a design charrette around our campus that also encompassed parts of DeKalb about 3 weeks ago to vision where we might go, and the mayor participated in those, and we continue to plan with them. So thank you, Mayor. So we need to build a university that's fully engaged with its stakeholders, internally and externally. Now, part of this transformation is transforming how we manage ourselves and the interactions we have with our internal and external stakeholders. So when I started this job, my first week actually, we held a workshop with a number of our alumni at the Naperville campus. And we asked them, what are your guiding expectations for the university? We don't want tactics and little things, but what are your expectations for what this university should do for this state and for its graduates? And they came back and gave us pretty clear answers, and they weren't aligned with student career success. We really need to help students prepare for their lives and their careers after they graduate. We took that listening into the organization. We worked with the leadership team. We've met with faculty and staff leaders. We've met with the faculty and staff governance structures. We've talked a lot with the trustees about these issues. We meet with student leaders on a regular basis. And after we got all that feedback, it looked like we're tracking the right way. People are saying, yes, this is the right way. Let's think about student career success and the pieces we need to have in place to make that happen. So our next step was to hold a series of Bold Futures workshops. Did anybody here participate in a Bold Futures workshop? Yeah, quite a few. Excellent. They were exciting, weren't they? They're really exciting. So these workshops over about a 3-week period had 800 people in them. And they were heterogeneous: faculty, staff, students, alumni, community members. And we got together around tables just like these, tables of 8, and we worked on problems. And it was amazing, these heterogeneous groups, each one with a different set of skills and superpowers, as we said, would come together and solve problems. And they would say things like, I've been here 20 years, I didn't know that existed. Hey, we can work together. And a number of really exciting things have come out of it. I'll give you a couple examples. That first year at a university, the freshman year, is really a transition year, and it's often a difficult year. At universities across the country, there's a relatively high dropout rate that first year, making that transition into the university. There are all kinds of expectations, cultural acceptance, engagement, academic issues that students have to face. And we want to work hard on that. And some of our faculty in our freshmen or our first year writing program got together and said, you know, we've got these students for 2 semesters. We've got about 25 students in a class. We really get to know them. We understand where they're coming from because they write for us on a regular basis. Why don't we take that on? Why don't we worry about retention issues? And when we see things coming up, we ought to be able to help them or get them to people who can help. And so we pulled together a workshop with them. We had 75 faculty come together and brainstorm around these issues for a half day. They came up with brilliant ideas. So one of our great resources is our people coming together, thinking about what the needs are, what's the main thing, identifying the problem and coming up with solutions. And when you do that, you can work in this resource-constrained environment and make dramatic changes. Another one that came out of the Bold Futures workshops was an idea about internships. This is something I think is really important, that hands-on experience that you need to work within your discipline or even out of your discipline while you're in school and go get that experience. Well, we employ more than 3,000 students on campus over a course of a year. Why don't we turn those into internships? So that was an idea that came out of one of the workshops, and now one of our staff members is in fact putting that program together for us so that they're meaningful learning experiences and not just work on campus. We've made a number of other changes. I've restructured the organization, created a separate budget and finance area so that we can really drill down on our money and how we spend it and how to get it to the highest order need. We're integrating our marketing activities. We're expanding our international programs. I'm in the process of hiring a new chief information officer, and we're consolidating our information technology programs for efficiency and effectiveness, on and on. We have many good things to be more efficient and more effective and better serve our stakeholders inside the institution. We've also reached out to partners across the state. A couple of examples, our 2 national labs, Fermi and Argonne, we're really blessed to have them in our area. They're doing amazing research, amazing basic research, but also amazing research that's going to have commercial application that will not only create new companies, but new industries. And a number of our faculty are co-located on their lab campuses, and we're looking to how to build areas of strength with the labs and really move those issues forward to help not only our students' education, but to create those industries and those jobs as we go forward. And those are going to be industries that solve problems around pollution or energy, and it's just really exciting to have them as willing partners with us. Let me give you another example of trying to reach out and build. Pramod Vora is here today, our Dean of Engineering and Engineering Technology. He and his faculty have worked with the aerospace industry in Rockford to help build the human capital that's now built a strong aerospace industry in that area. Our students also work hands-on in the Eiger lab there, which is a lab that does startup businesses. And so those startup entrepreneurs are greatly benefiting by having our engineering students working beside them, and the students are getting that internship experience, that hands-on experience that's going to make them so successful when they go on. We've also been reaching out to community colleges. I didn't mention that in the pipeline when I started talking, but community colleges are really an important piece of the higher education fabric in this state. They do an excellent job. And I've talked with the community college trustees and presidents and been out to visit many of the community colleges in the state. They are willing partners, they have good students, and we can form a much tighter coupling between them. One example, a couple weeks ago we signed an agreement with Kishwaukee College, and it was on reverse articulation. And if you're not in higher ed, that probably is not a term you're familiar with. A lot of community colleges will have students that go 3 semesters, but maybe they're in engineering and they actually need to transfer at that point before their associate's degree is done, so they stay on track. Well, if they do that, they don't get the associate's degree even though they've earned the majority of the credits for it. So reverse articulation is the student goes in to the university, let's say at the end of the 3rd semester, and they transfer back that fourth semester's credit into the community college and receive their associate's degree, which they've dutifully earned through the materials they've got. So now they have that. And if for some reason they have to step out of higher education, they have an associate's degree. So that's a wonderful opportunity with Kishwaukee College that we've signed. The Lieutenant Governor was there and spoke eloquently about it and was a big supporter of it. We want to do that with more community colleges and have stronger articulation and stronger relationships with them to help serve those students. So we need to be relevant and true to our mission by really engaging our faculty, staff, and students along with our stakeholders to help prepare our students and to help prepare the industries and the economy going forward. We have a lot of things to build on. I'm saying we need to align better. We've done it in a number of cases, and we have some great stories to tell about that. So, the first, education. U.S. News and World Report this year named NIU's College of Education as the #1 online program in the country. So those of you who want to get a graduate degree in education, niu.edu. It's a great program. Business ethics. Again, Business Week ranked us #3 in the country for business ethics. Turns out that might be a big issue, huh? Really big issue. We've got amazing faculty, and they have amazing alumni and stakeholders that partner with them in hands-on kinds of ways. Our accounting program, the College of Business, is also very strong. It's one of the top 10 programs in the country, an amazing accounting program. I met some accountants here earlier today that were graduates of the program and have had excellent careers. Our engineering college is only 30 years old, 37 years old. 27, almost 30, I rounded up, okay. 27 years old, it's a top 50 program. That's meteoric to rise in the ranks in this country, to go that fast. But it's because they've been doing the things that I suggested we needed to do. We need to reach out and partner and give our students rich educations in partnership with our stakeholders. That doesn't demean what we do in the classroom, it enriches what we do in the classroom, it informs what we do in the classroom. It almost is a triangle offense, isn't it? Remember Phil Jackson and the triangle offense? In this case, our 3 dots are the student, the faculty member, and then the potential employer, the internship person. That triangle can really work together when all 3 of those people are informing each other and you're learning from each other. That builds a tremendous strength and a tremendous educational platform for students. Another great program you may not know about, the Southeast Asian Studies program, one of the top in the world actually. We had the Princess of Thailand on campus actually this year earlier, and she was very impressed with our program. Our MPA program is one of the best in the country for training local government officials. Again, why? Well, those students in the Masters of Public Administration have 2 years of paid internship while they're in the program. That's fantastic. And we have over a 95% placement rate because of that. They go out and they're hired because they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing academically, and they know how to operate in a complex world of local communities. They are complex, aren't they, Mayor? Holy cow. We also offer classes at our regional centers, our branch campuses in Naperville, Hoffman Estates, and Rockford, and I think there's great opportunities for us to do even more there. I'm really excited by that. In Rockford, for example, we have a law clinic, the Zeke Georgi Law Clinic. It's a pretty amazing place, and if you want to be inspired, go there and check it out. I was there a few months ago, and we had representatives from the bar and the bench. We had a number of students, and the students told me that they learned doctrine in DeKalb, and they learned how to be lawyers there, working with the underprivileged who wouldn't have legal support without that. And the bar and the bench agreed that the courts couldn't run without that kind of support. So again, there's the triangle offense running, and we're helping create fantastic lawyers, and they're shaping their careers based on that experience. That affects them. That affects who they're going to be and how they're going to practice their law going forward. And that helps us build a stronger society. So, I have a couple cases in point. This is the wind-up for the students to come up front. And I'm going to introduce a couple students. who I'm really proud of. The first is Randa Hopkins. And Randa grew up in the West Side. He wasn't born with a silver spoon in his mouth. And he cares deeply about his neighborhood, and he cares deeply about his education. And he's doing something about it. He started a campaign called Save Chicago. And the Chicago Tribune did a series a couple months ago on what do we do? How do we think big about Chicago, and how do we transform it? And Randis was thinking about that a long time ago, and he took action. So I want to first introduce Randis Hopkins to tell us a little bit about his program as an example of what we're trying to do with our students at the university. Randis?
Good afternoon. My name is Randis Hopkins, and I am a student at Northern Illinois University studying music education and jazz performance. It is such a pleasure to be with you all today, and I first would like to thank President Baker for such a gracious invitation. Making the decision to go to Northern Illinois University is probably one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. Not only has this school given me a quality education and a group of lifelong friends, it has also given me the opportunity to learn more about myself. On August 24th, 2013, I started the Save Chicago campaign at NIU, which is a student-led movement to increase the unity, love, and peace in a place many of our students call home. The idea came about last summer when I went to a youth advocate leadership conference in Tennessee, where students from many illustrious universities such as Yale, Harvard, Princeton, and even Morehouse were called upon to come up with action plans to make their respective cities a better place. When I finally made it home, I reached out to some of my friends who I thought were student leaders in their own right to help bring this campaign to life. In September, we introduced the Save Chicago campaign to the campus by doing a demonstration entitled Untold Stories. On this day, we had 506 garbage bags in NIU's MLK Commons with newspapers in each bag to represent the 506 people that died due to violence in Chicago in 2012 due to the violence. We also had a board outside in which students were able to interact by signing the name of someone that they know that has died due to Chicago's violence. This created an alarming response for our students at NIU. Our students were inspired more than ever to create change in Chicago. Since then, we have gotten so much support from our university. Our university's president, Dr. Douglas Baker, has been such a true advocate for our campaign. And for that, I want to say thank you. Jack Berry, who is the president of the Student Association at NIU, has been there since day one for us as well. Our VP of Diversity and Equity, Dr. Katrina Caldwell, has also been like an advisor for us. Mr. Brad Hoey has been great in terms of getting the word out. And yesterday, I had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Joe Maddie, who talked about how we could get alumni involved in our campaign as well. Even though it hasn't even been 6 months since our campaign has started, we have been able to do a winter giveaway at Garfield's Park, where we were able to give away over 300 articles of winter gear to families in Chicago without. And not only that, we now have over 150 volunteer members at NIU committed to making change in Chicago. On March 7th, we will be hosting our first annual Save Chicago Day, in which we will take over 150 students from NIU to make change all throughout the city. They will be doing a host of projects such as painting, working with youth, landscaping, and more. In the future, we hope to inspire other colleges around the state to start their own Save Chicago campaign or something similar, so it becomes a statewide movement to make our city a better place. Thanks for having me.
And I'm impressed with Randis. I mean, wouldn't it be wonderful if all of our students joined that? And our alumni, too. Thanks, Joe, for reaching out there. We have amazing alumni here. I see Jeff Jordan over here. He's going to be speaking today at the Alumni Executive Leadership Forum. Many of our executives have this organization and are talking about how to bridge with these kinds of students and how to help them move forward. And I'm going to speak after Jeff today when he presents to the group. For those of you who don't know, Jeff owns Sagent Pharmaceuticals and was named, #1 on the Fast 50 growing companies in the state. So a proud alumni, and he's a great supporter of ours. So next I'd like to introduce Sarah Stubing. Sarah is an honors student. She's studying biology. She has minors in chemistry and Spanish. She studied in Argentina and Scotland. And in fact, she was elected as our top student, the Lincoln Laureate at the university this year. And she's off to do some pretty incredible things. And she's already done some incredible things at the university. And I want her to share a little bit about that. Sarah?
Thank you, President Baker. As President Baker mentioned, my name is Sarah Stubing, and I'm here to attest to the greatness of NIU today by sharing a bit about my own story. As Dr. Baker mentioned, I'm a senior biology major with chemistry and Spanish minors, and I'll be graduating in May with departmental and university honors. My goal since my junior year of high school has been to go to veterinary school, something that's pretty hard to achieve. They say it's even harder than getting into med school because there are only 28 veterinary schools in the nation. Now, I don't know if you know, but NIU does not have any veterinary courses, any animal courses. They didn't even have a pre-veterinary medicine association. Luckily, they do now. I might have had something to do with that. So, when I first came, I decided to create opportunities for myself, and I was incredibly fortunate to have so much support at NIU. My freshman year, I did an equine massage research project. Yes, I massaged horses, and I looked to see if that would benefit these horses and their way of moving. And no, I can't massage you unless maybe you try and get on all fours so the anatomy lines up. But that was my first year, that was my freshman year, and I worked with 3 mentors and Olympic quality software. My second year, I decided equine massage wasn't crazy enough, and I went to Argentina and worked with monkeys at the only primate rehabilitation center there. NIU helped to fund this research project that I did there and my time volunteering, making a difference in these animals' lives. I've also been doing Alzheimer's research in a psychology lab for 3 years. I'm published on an article in a scientific journal. I've been to international conferences. I've founded and am the president of the newly established NIU Pre-Veterinary Medicine Association. I'm also in a few other things, but the laundry list is long. As Dr. Baker also mentioned, I was honored this year by being named NIU's Lincoln Laureate, the top graduating senior. I flew back for a 6-day stint from my semester in Scotland to receive the award. It was a whirlwind and an honor that I still don't think I've fully comprehended. All of this work has been leading up to this year where I've applied to veterinary school. It is a long and grueling process. I don't think I would necessarily recommend doing it, but I've found out that it has been an incredibly rewarding one. And thanks to NIU and the opportunities that I've had here, I'm proud to be able to say that I've been accepted to veterinary school and will be going there in the fall. I not only was accepted, thank you, I was actually accepted to 4 veterinary schools, including Cornell University, the top veterinary school in the nation. Clearly, thank you. Clearly, the sky's the limit here at NIU. And I thank you all for coming out and hearing about us and supporting us in these many ways. Thank you.
Okay, when I started, I said you'd remember them, not the stuff I said. Yeah, was it W.C. Fields that said, never follow a kid? Yeah, that's tough. To remind you what I said, we need to align higher education with the needs of society. We've got to do that in our work back into K through 12 and even pre-K through K. We've got to do it and help students transition into the university. We've got to help students through the university, not only in the classroom, but out of the classroom, with internships, with mentoring, and then through networking, through our amazing Alumni Association. and then help them out into the world of work, and then have the Huskies help each other as they go on through their careers and they change lives and communities in the world. I want to thank you all for having me here today and for the opportunity to share a couple student examples of what we're trying to do at the university. Go Huskies!